Holy tomato harvest, Batman. Let me tell you about the guy who harvested 1,368 pounds of tomatoes from 4 plants. Just 4. That's 342 pounds off of each plant. Most people get just 20 to 30 pounds per plant. 342, 20 to 30. Charles Wilbur got into the Guinness Book of World Records in 1987 for this amazing feat of tomato growing power. You know what the absolutely amazing part about this is? He did it all organically. He studied tomatoes and figured out just what they need at each stage of their growth. Then he came up with a fertilizing strategy using compost and alfalfa meal. So why haven't we learned how to grow 1,368 pounds of tomatoes off of 4 plants? Maybe because we don't want to process them all? I don't know. But let's come up with our own organized fertilizer strategy. Let's make it organic, and let's grow the very best tomatoes we can grow this year. I'm Carol from Almost 2 Acres. Let's get going.
Wilbur didn't just grow heavy producing plants. He also grew a cherry tomato plant that reached nearly 28 feet tall, productive from bottom to top. And over in Washington's Walla Walla Valley, Dan Sutherland had been breaking world records for giant tomatoes. We're talking individual fruits weighing over 10 pounds, all by spending decades building his soil organically. I'm not suggesting we're all going to break world records here on our smaller homesteads, but what if understanding these principles could help you double or triple your tomato harvest? What if the difference between a disappointing tomato season and baskets overflowing with fruit comes down to knowing what to feed your plants and when? That's exactly what we're covering today. A complete season-long organic fertilizing strategy for tomatoes that really works. So grab your notebook because we're going to walk through exactly what to feed your tomatoes, when to feed them, and why. Before we get into the how, let's talk about the why for just a minute, because understanding what your tomatoes actually need makes you a better gardener. Tomatoes need 3 primary nutrients, and you've probably heard of these if you've ever looked at a fertilizer bag. There's nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. On fertilizer packages, you'll see 3 numbers like 5, 10, 10 or 4, 4, 4. Those numbers represent the percentage of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium in that order. We call it the NPK ratio. Nitrogen is all about leafy green growth. It's what gives you big, lush plants with lots of foliage. Phosphorus supports root development and flowering. It's critical when your plants are setting fruit. And potassium, that's your fruit quality nutrient. It helps with disease resistance and produces better tasting, more nutritious tomatoes. The key to fertilizing tomatoes well is knowing that they need different ratios of these nutrients at different times. Early on, they need more nitrogen to build stronger plants. But once they start flowering and fruiting, too much nitrogen actually works against you. You'll get gorgeous plants but fewer tomatoes. That's when phosphorus and potassium become your priorities. This is exactly what those record-breaking gardeners understood. They weren't just throwing fertilizer at their plants. They were strategic about what nutrients they provided and when. With this thought in mind, I have created a free 1-page tomato nutrient deficiency quick guide for you to keep close to your tomato garden. Use this when symptoms begin to appear, but you're not sure what your plants need. If you're interested, the link to this free guide is in the description and first comment. All right, let's start at the very beginning, before your tomatoes even go in the ground. Your best fertilizing strategy actually starts with soil preparation. I amend my tomato beds a couple weeks before planting, and this gives my plants the foundation they need to thrive all season long. First, I work in compost, and I'm talking good finished compost that's dark and crumbly and smells like earth. I add about 2 to 3 inches across the entire bed and work it into the top 6 to 8 inches of soil. This adds nutrients, yes, but it also improves soil structure, increases beneficial microbes, and helps with moisture retention. Charles Wilbur called compost the black gold of the organic garden, and it was absolutely central to his record-breaking system. Dan Sutherland spent decades building his soil organically in the Walla Walla Valley, and that patient soil building is what made those giant tomatoes possible. Then I add a couple of organic amendments. I sprinkle in some worm castings, maybe a 1/4-inch layer across the bed. Worm castings are absolutely incredible for tomatoes. They're loaded with beneficial microbes and nutrients in a form that's immediately available to the plants. I also add bone meal at this stage. Bone meal is high in phosphorus, which tomatoes need for strong root development. I use about a cup per 10 square feet and work it into the soil. Some gardeners also add kelp meal here for trace minerals. If you've got it, use about half a cup per 10 square feet. One more thing I do is add a light dusting of rock dust or azomite if I have it. These products add trace minerals that might be missing from your soil, and tomatoes really benefit from that complete nutrition. Now, here's what you shouldn't do at planting time. Don't add a lot of high nitrogen fertilizer. You might be tempted, but resist that urge. Too much nitrogen early on can cause rapid weed growth and delay fruiting. If you would like to have a look at them, I have affiliate links to bone meal, worm castings, and others in the description. When it's actually time to plant, I do add one more boost directly in the planting hole. I dig a hole deeper than I need, knowing I will plant the tomatoes deep, burying part of the stem to encourage more root development. At the bottom of that hole, I add a handful of compost mixed with a tablespoon of organic tomato fertilizer. I like fertilizers that are around 346 or 463, lower in nitrogen, higher in phosphorus and potassium. Some people add crushed eggshells at planting time for calcium, which prevents blossom end rot. I'll be honest, eggshells take a long time to break down, so that's more of a long-term strategy, but it doesn't hurt, and if you've got them, toss a handful in there. Charles Wilbur actually dug much larger holes, 24 inches wide and a foot deep, and mixed 3 parts soil with 1 part compost to refill them. He was creating an entire nutrient-rich zone for those roots to explore. For most of us, that's more work than necessary, but it shows you how important that initial soil prep is. Next, I add the plant, backfill with soil, water deeply, and we're off to the races. For the first 3 to 4 weeks after transplanting, your tomatoes are focused on establishing roots and putting on vegetative growth. This is when they can handle a bit more nitrogen. About 2 weeks after planting, once I see the plants settling in and putting out new growth, I give them their first feeding. I use a liquid organic fertilizer, either fish emulsion or a balanced liquid fertilizer diluted according to the package directions. Fish emulsion is wonderful for this stage because it's around 511, higher in nitrogen. It gives plants that push of leafy growth they need. Now, fair warning, fish emulsion smells absolutely terrible when you first apply it, but the smell dissipates within a day. Your neighbors might give you some looks, but your tomatoes will love you for it. I apply this every 2 weeks during this early stage. I water at the base of the plants, not on the foliage, early in the morning so it can soak in before the heat of the day. You can also use compost tea during this stage. If you make your own compost tea by steeping finished compost in water for a few days, you've got a gentle, nutrient-rich fertilizer that's perfect for young plants. Wilbur was a big believer in compost tea and used it throughout the season as part of his feeding regimen. Around week 5 or 6, you'll notice your tomato plants starting to form flower buds. This is a critical transition point, and it's when I switch up my fertilizing strategy. As soon as I see those first flower clusters forming, I stop using high nitrogen fertilizer. From this point forward, I want fertilizers that are higher in phosphorus and potassium. I switch to a fertilizer that's around 253 or something similar. Low nitrogen, higher phosphorus, moderate potassium. You can find organic tomato-specific fertilizers that have this ratio. During flowering, I fertilize every 2 weeks with this low nitrogen blend. You can use it as a soil drench, or if you're using a water-soluble version, as a foliar spray in the early morning. Just don't spray when flowers are open and bees are active. This is also when I make sure my plants are getting adequate calcium. If you've had blossom end rot issues in the past, you can spray with a calcium solution or work some gypsum into the soil around the base of the plants. Consistent watering is actually more important for calcium uptake than the fertilizer itself, so keep that soil evenly moist. Once your tomatoes start setting fruit, they're going to be pulling nutrients hard for the rest of the season. This is when your fertilizing routine really matters. I continue with that lower nitrogen, higher phosphorus, and potassium fertilizer every 2 weeks throughout the entire production period. This keeps plants healthy and productive without pushing excessive foliage growth. Every 4 weeks during this stage, I also side dress with compost. I pull back any mulch, Add about an inch of compost in a ring around each plant, about 6 inches from the stem, then water it in well and replace the mulch. This provides a slow, steady release of nutrients and keeps those beneficial microbes active in the soil. This is very similar to what Wilbur did with his record-breaking plants. He created what he called a nutrient ring around each plant, layers of compost, alfalfa meal, and mulch that extended out in a wide circle. As those materials broke down, they continuously fed the plants throughout the whole growing season. Some gardeners like to add kelp meal as a side dressing during fruiting, about a quarter cup per plant scratched into the soil surface. Kelp is loaded with micronutrients and growth hormones that boost fruit quality. If your plants start looking a little tired mid-season, maybe the leaves are paling a bit or growth is slowing, you can give them a boost with fish emulsion or compost tea. Just go easy on it. A little goes a long way at this stage. Even with good fertilizing practices, sometimes tomatoes show you they need something. Let's talk about what to look for. If your lower leaves are turning yellow but the veins stay green, you're likely looking at nitrogen deficiency. A feeding with fish emulsion should green them right up. If you see purple tinges on the underside of leaves and stems, that's often phosphorus deficiency, though cold soil can cause the same symptom. Make sure you're using a fertilizer with adequate phosphorus. Do you have brown, scorched-looking leaf edges? That's often potassium deficiency. Kelp meal or a potassium-rich organic fertilizer can help. Blossom end rot, those black sunken spots on the bottom of fruit, is calcium deficiency, but it's usually caused by inconsistent watering rather than a lack of calcium in the soil. Focus on keeping your soil moisture even. The beauty of using organic fertilizers and building good soil is that you're less likely to see severe deficiencies. Those beneficial microbes help make nutrients available to plants, and the organic matter acts as a buffer against dramatic nutrient swings. Please take a moment to hit that subscribe button and then leave a comment. What tomato varieties will you grow this year? Will you try organic fertilizer? Let me share a few extra tips that make a difference in my garden. Lessons learned from growers like Wilbur and from my own experience. First, mulch is your friend. A good 3 to 4 inch layer of organic mulch, straw, shredded leaves, or grass clippings helps maintain even soil moisture, which is critical for nutrient uptake. As the mulch breaks down, it also adds organic matter to the soil. Wilbur used straw mulch extensively, and it was the key part of his system. Second, avoid over-fertilizing. More is not better. Too much fertilizer can actually harm your plants, lead to excessive foliage at the expense of fruit, or cause nutrient imbalances. Follow package directions and watch your plants. They'll tell you what they need. Third, remember that soil pH really matters. Tomatoes prefer slightly acidic soil around 6 to 6.8. If your pH is off, nutrients can be present but unavailable to plants. A simple soil test every few years helps you know where you stand. And finally, rotate your crops. Don't plant tomatoes in the same spot year after year. This depletes specific nutrients and can lead to disease buildup. I rotate my tomatoes to a different bed each year and plant a cover crop or nitrogen-fixing legumes in the old bed to replenish the soil. Wilbur was a huge advocate of cover cropping and used it to build his incredible soil over time. Let's do a quick recap of the organic fertilizers we've talked about so you know what to have on hand. For early season, fish emulsion, balanced organic fertilizer, or compost tea, higher in nitrogen. For flowering and fruiting, organic tomato fertilizer with an NPK around 253 or similar, kelp meal, and bone meal. Throughout the season, compost for side dressing, worm castings, alfalfa meal, and calcium sources like gypsum if needed. All of these are available at garden centers, and many you can make yourself if you're into DIY, like compost and compost tea. Before we go on to looking at the big picture, don't forget to pick up a copy of my free nutrient deficiency quick guide below. Now, I want to be realistic with you. Are you going to harvest 342 pounds of tomatoes from a single plant following this fertilizing strategy? Probably not. Wilbur spent years perfecting his system, used specialized pruning techniques, built massive cages, and was absolutely meticulous about every detail. But here's what you can expect: healthier plants, better disease resistance, extended harvests, more fruit, and better flavor. The difference between adequate fertilizing and strategic fertilizing can easily mean the difference between 20 pounds per plant and 40 or 50 pounds per plant. That's a real, tangible improvement that makes a huge difference when you're trying to grow food on a smaller space. The beautiful thing about organic fertilizing is that you're not just feeding plants, you're feeding the soil and all the beneficial organisms in it. You're building a healthy, living system that gets better year after year. That's what Sutherland did in Walla Walla. Decades of patient soil building that created the conditions for record-breaking results. Every season, your soil gets a little better, your plants get a little more productive, your harvests get a little more abundant. That's the real magic of organic growing. It's not about tricks or shortcuts. It's about understanding what plants need and creating conditions where they can thrive. There it is, a complete season-long fertilizing strategy for organic tomatoes, inspired by some of the most successful tomato growers in the world and adapted for those of us growing in smaller homestead gardens.
Are you ready yet to give this video a thumbs up? Until next time, and until spring, let's get learning all about gardening, and then let's get growing tomatoes and fertilizing them.